K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect just to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
it's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, well, happy Wednesday evening. It is hump day. We've made it halfway through the work week, and we're now on the downhill, at least for some of you. I work several jobs, so I never really know when my week's starting or when it's ending or when I'm in the middle. But hey, it is officially hump day. This is a very special episode. Here in just a couple minutes, we will have Mr. Bill Morgan. Most of you know him on Twitter as Colonel Obvious. He is involved in an anti-bullying project on Twitter and also a big advocate for the Convention of States. So we'll actually be discussing both of those things with him today. We'll be spending the first half of the show talking about the bullying project. A couple of announcements real quick, just to make sure that everybody is aware. Ways you can find the show in case you're tuning in for the first time. The show is available always through Spreaker. That is our home network. That's actually where the backbone of both K98 and the Spark Radio Network is. The show is also available on SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, now FM Player, was just added there a couple of days ago. Also iHeartRadio and AMFM247.com. We are currently in negotiations with Leading Edge Radio Network and SHR Media, so I'll let you know when those go through and let you know times and days and all that fun stuff. But pretty much you can almost find us anywhere at this point. So again, really big show today. Do have one other announcement to make, unfortunately. Eric Williams from barbedwiresatire.com was supposed to be joining me tomorrow. Unfortunately, he has not been feeling well, so we have rescheduled. As soon as I get a date nailed down with him, I'll definitely let you know when he's going to be back on with us. But for tomorrow, you'll probably get me ranting and raving, and as always, there's always plenty for me to rant and rave about. And lately, again, their biggest thing is, of course, TPA. And again, as usual, Congress has basically sold us down the river. But we will talk about that a little bit more here in just a little bit. I want to go ahead and bring Bill on with us. Good evening, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing just fine, actually, if you don't count the fact that I'm starting to feel like our entire country's being sold down the river.
There is that.
But I am trying to stay positive, so we're going to stay positive. So we already agreed that, at least for the first half of the show, we were going to be talking about your anti-bullying project. Now, because of that, I want to give a signal shout-out to a friend of mine who shall remain nameless, but those of you that hear this will know who we're referring to, and we do look forward to the days that she comes back to live radio. All right, so we've been asked not to go into any specifics, so I'm not going to say anything else. For those of you who know who that sound effect represents, you know who that was a shout-out to. That's about as far as that's going to go. All right, so why don't you go ahead and give everybody a little bit of information about what it is that you're trying to do and how they can help? Because I know you're still looking for lots of help to get this thing off the ground.
Well, first of all, I do miss that sound, and I can't wait for it to come back. The project that I have going on, a lot of people don't know how to archive their tweets. And so I'm in negotiations. I've got a friend of mine, actually, who owns Nimbus Studios up in Minnesota. And that may be a little more expensive for him to write the engine than some of the other bids that I've got. But I know this guy, and I know it'll get done right, and that makes it worth it. The idea being, first of all, if you get on Twitter and you talk politics or religion or anything like that, any kind of hot-button topics, you're going to get called names. That's going to happen. Okay, you need to get a thicker skin or talk about unicorns. On the other hand, when people start publishing pictures of your house, pictures of your family, your address, your phone number, threats against your life, that's going across the line, and that's got to stop. That's against the law. I can cite federal law, and several states have laws against that, even on the computer. So a lot of people don't know how to do that, and then these tweets get deleted. The site that I'm working on, you can take a link, the link for any kind of a threatening tweet, submit it to the site, and it will take a screenshot of that tweet, plus all of the information that's in that tweet will be stored in a database. That database is only going to be searchable by law enforcement and Twitter. It's not like anybody can search it. But even if that tweet is deleted, a record of it has been stored. And so if you report it, they can get at it. Also, there's going to be some links to the federal laws and the state laws, what's expected, and also some other ways of getting Twitter's attention, like a complaint form with the Federal Trade Commission or a complaint form with the SEC. There's some other options that I'm going to be making available. And that's basically it.
You know, you do bring up a good point, though, because I don't think a lot of folks have realized that now that Twitter is a traded commodity, they do have to answer to entities that you just named for a lot of the things that happen inside of their service. And I don't think a lot of folks realize that. So I think that would be a good thing to definitely make sure is there. So I do applaud you for that, because I actually hadn't even thought of that until I heard you mention that on Grouchy's show when you appeared with him talking about this the first time, with the fact that now they are a traded commodity. They have to answer to certain organizations for how they treat people that are using their service, and that had never occurred to me until you mentioned it. So that could be useful, I hope.
Well, that idea actually belongs to the chainsaw.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But I am always looking for other ideas. If you have them, you can feel free to tweet them to me. I am at COL_obvious on Twitter. Feel free to tweet them to me. The other two things that I'm stuck on right now is I'm looking for a real catchy domain name. And by catchy, I mean short, easy to remember, easy to spell, and not taken.
Those are always the hard parts, huh? Short and not taken.
Right. I'm also looking for a logo. If anybody's got any kind of artistic talent, it doesn't have to be sweet or anything. Just, it doesn't have to be super professional. Just something we can throw out there that can be associated with the fact that those of us that can actually have civil debates are ready to take Twitter back. And we're ready to do it not with guns and not with violence, but with the law. That's the way we do things.
Can I just say that's one of the things that really annoys me, because that's honestly one of the reasons why I finally made the jump to Twitter. Because once Facebook became a traded commodity, they got to everything where everything was so commercialized that they wanted you to pay money for anybody to see anything that you were doing. Even if you were on an organizational page like the one that we originally started on, the only way even more than a quarter of your audience would see anything is if you started paying them to promote your posts. So I made the jump to Twitter, and I got to say it killed me because I'm not used to 140 some odd characters or less. And sometimes when the threads really get going, I still have issues keeping up. But the thing is, when I first came to Twitter, it seemed like a place where you could share ideas. And it's the same thing that the person who's asked us not to go into much detail about it has said to me before. she felt like the people that she needed to be trying to have the conversations with were the people that she disagreed with, so we could try to find places where we didn't disagree. And it always turns in to some sort of a kindergarten contest where as soon as you step over whatever line hurts their feelings, all of a sudden they're just out to do whatever they can to just make you go away. And I don't understand that in this country anymore, because that's not how we used to be. We used to be able to disagree with one another and still at the end of the day get things done. And we can't do that anymore, and I don't understand what happened.
Well, those people are out there, and I have to tell you, and don't hold this against him or anything, because I know most of the people that are listening to this show are definitely right-leaning, at least. But my friend that I mentioned before from Ninja Studios, Hugh Gower, is very much left-leaning, and we disagree on a lot. We've never shouted or come to blows or anything like that, but there are some things we disagree with, and at the end of the day, we were both firefighters and got the job done, and we're still friends.
Well, see, and don't take what I said as completely literal, where I don't think it exists at all anymore, because as you may or may not know, we actually have a couple of liberal hosts here on the Spark and also that air on K98 Talk, and I get along with them fairly well. One of them is actually a younger gentleman. He's actually just now about to graduate high school. He doesn't graduate till next year. But he is very liberal-leaning. And then the original left-leaning guy that started finding common ground with me is now not able to do the show that often because his schedule conflicts, which is one of the reasons why we brought Bryce on. But we talk all the time. And we can agree to disagree and talk about the things that we don't agree on, and that's where it ends. But in so many places, everything, as soon as you tell somebody something that you disagree with them on something, it automatically turns into a personal attack, and I don't understand that. When did we lose the ability to debate in this country as a majority? Because there are lots of folks that just can't do it at all anymore. As soon as you try to debate with them at all, the first thing they want to do is make it into a personal attack, and then it turns into exactly what we're seeing here, which is people that are repeatedly banned or doxxed or anything else that happens, which none of it serves any purpose, in my opinion.
And I don't think. Like we're both, I think we're both on the same page on that. I don't think that's a right-leaning issue or a left-leaning issue. I think that's an adult versus immature issue, to be honest with you. And you're going to have that. You're going to have that on Facebook. You're going to have that on Twitter. We had it on MySpace. We had it on AOL. We had it on the bulletin boards back before there were websites. And it's not going to go away unless we make it known that there are consequences for doing this, for breaking the law. And sure, for a while you rob a bank, you might get away with it. You're going to get caught eventually, and there are some serious fines and even jail time involved on some of the federal laws.
Yeah, but I think the part that disturbs me the most is with the people that I know that are dealing with this type of stuff on a regular basis. I see them because a few of them do vent to me, usually in private messages, because we have dealings with one another, and I see them tell me over and over again that they've alerted authorities to what's going on and what they're doing, and basically they're being told until they actually do something, there's nothing that they can do. And I don't understand that, because you know as well as I know that there are laws on the books that keep them from being able to do these type of things, and yet it seems that local law enforcement and even sometimes state and federal law enforcement really could give a care, and I don't understand that.
Well, a lot of it may be that they are not aware of it. There are some states, for instance, where on my truck, I do not have to have a license plate on the front of my truck. I have a license plate on the front of my truck because a lot of the police officers in those states don't realize that that's the way it works, and I'd rather not get pulled over. So that's one of the reasons that the website is going to have a section with federal laws and then state laws, and when the state laws apply. So the people who are being threatened or feel threatened can go to this site, educate themselves on the law, and have a place where the actual threat is archived and kept and can be looked at by law enforcement. The other thing that this does is, let's say person A gets threatened by person B, and then a week later person C and person D get threatened by person B. When the law enforcement does this search, they will be able to search by sender, by recipient, by keyword, by date, however. But if they do a search by sender, they'll be able to easily as long as people are submitting tweets. If there is a pattern to be said that this tweeter threatens multiple people, that establishes a pattern, which should help.
Well, I definitely hope that it helps. And I don't know if you want to give it out on air, but I did notice that do you still have the GoFundMe account set up for this?
I do, and there is a disclaimer. I am not using GoFundMe to collect funds. There have been 2 people donated. There's $50 in there. This is something that I'm going to be doing. And yeah, if you want to donate $5 or $10, that's awesome. The engine is probably, the bids that I've received are between $400 and $500 just for the engine. And I'm going to need to get a secure server because of the sensitive nature of the stuff that'll be in the database. There's going to be, hosting fees and other fees involved. But the disclaimer says, I don't have a GoFundMe for donations. I have a GoFundMe because it's an easy place to post updates. I'm going to do this regardless of whether any donations come in.
Well, no, and I've seen the GoFundMe, so I understand that basically you didn't necessarily set it up to to get money, but I don't see any reason that for those people that agree with what it is that you're trying to do, and they want to basically, as JD and Stacy always put it, shoot the lock off their wallet and dust off the cobwebs, they can pitch in about $5 or $10 should they feel like it. And nobody's saying they have to do it. I just wanted to make folks aware that is an option if they do want to help you get this done, because there are lots of folks that would do what you're doing if they could and they knew how and they had the resources. So one of the things that I always tell folks is one of the easiest ways to get involved and actually feel like you're making a difference is to get in behind the folks that are doing the lion's share of the work and show them that you give a damn and actually pitch in a little money or a little bit of your time, because at least then in your own way you're finding a way to get off the couch and put down the remote, which is one of the recurring themes of this entire show and has been from the day that it started. Whether it's political or anything else that's going on, we just have way too much apathy in this country anymore, and it just drives me crazy.
I understand. Immediately what I need is, like I said before, some help with maybe a catchy domain name idea or a logo. What I will do, the GoFundMe site is named Twitter Anti-Bully Project, but I tried searching it before I come on the show, and you can't find it. I could give out the URL, but it's incredibly complicated. So what I'll do is immediately following the show, I will pin a tweet with a link to the GoFundMe site, and then if people want to go and give $5 or $10, that's awesome. If they just want to get the updates, that's awesome too, honestly. What I would encourage people to do, though, is let people know this is coming. Let your Twitter following know this is going to be here, and it's going to be for everybody.
Well, this isn't a partisan issue. I don't care if you're right, center, left. If you are bullying people on Twitter, you're the problem. I don't care if you're intimidating people, if you're threatening people, if you're doxing people. I don't care if you're right, left, center, purple with pink polka dots. If you're doing that stuff, then you are the problem, and you should be the one that's not on Twitter, because obviously you're not adult enough to handle Twitter.
I could not agree more.
Yeah, I get hate
mail.
I get hate mail a lot.
A lot of people have.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said I get hate mail a lot just because I have a tendency to tell people exactly how I feel, and a lot of times they don't like it. I don't care.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about, if you get out there on these hot button issues, there's going to be people disagree with you, and tempers are going to flare, and you might get called a big dumbhead. You grow up and let that slide. If the guy thinks you're a big dumbhead, oh well. Now, if he starts publishing your address and telling people that you need to die, that needs to stop. That needs to go away. And I have seen a lot of very intelligent and witty, funny people leave Twitter because they don't have the ability to, or the technical knowledge or whatnot to archive these tweets themselves. And that's the idea behind this project is trying to help people understand there is something you can do to protect yourself and fight back. And this is what it is. And I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for people to do that.
Well, like I said, the day that you announced that this was something that you were going to do, if there's anything my group can do to help, just let us know. And speaking of which, as soon as you put the link out with the GoFundMe, I know you're not looking for donations, but what I am going to do, in the hopes that maybe we can get you some, is get that link out to all of our social media sites. So between the sites that we have for the shows, the station, the network, and everything else, we have approximately 7,000 to 8,000 people following those. So I'm hoping that by the time it's all said and done, that maybe at least a small percentage will give a couple of dollars here and there, but I'm not going to make any promises.
I don't need any promises, and you know, $5 or $10, that'd be awesome. If it's not all coming out of my wallet, that's awesome. If it is all coming out of my wallet, that's awesome too, because people need a way to fight back against this thing. It's a huge problem, and people, you know, regular Twitter folks need a place to go too, and that's what I'm hoping for on this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I don't understand is with all of the people, and I will admit that at least from my perspective, it seems like it happens to conservatives a lot more than it happens to any other folks. But I do know it happens to other folks too. But the thing that I don't understand is with the percentage of folks that are driven away from Twitter on a regular basis because of idiots that do this type of stuff, why do you think Twitter does pretty much nothing about it? I don't understand their mindset with that.
There actually are a couple of possibilities, and without actually being there, you don't know which one. It could be that they're just in over their heads. I mentioned earlier that I was having internet problems, and the reason is this fella, he started this company, started a small business in America, God bless him, and got lucky and got a bunch of apartment complexes and stuff, and basically he got in over his head and behind. And he's made the steps to correct the thing, but it's still iffy in a couple of areas, mine being one of them, as they make repairs. I know that Twitter made some changes to their leadership recently, and so maybe they're in over their heads, maybe they're trying to fix it, and maybe they're not. But they are a publicly traded company with a clearly defined terms of service agreement that they have to live up to, or there are some fairly fierce penalties. Which is why I'll be including the SEC link.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people realize the type of penalties that they can face for something like this. And I hadn't checked this yet, but I just had a thought. And I don't know if it would be something that you'd be interested in using, and it is kind of corny, but there's that whole thing, you know, there's that spray that's all over the internet that every time anybody starts trolling you, they pull out this stuff called Troll Be Gone. I'm just wondering, I wonder if Bullies Be Gone would be available, because that might be kind of catchy.
The Troll Be Gone?
No, Bullies Be Gone?
Quite possibly, and I'll check.
I just thought that might be something that might be pretty easy to remember, and it is a little catchy. I mean, you don't have to use it if you don't want to, because it just kind of popped into my head, because I was kind of thinking you could kind of go along the same idea of like the spray can with like the Twitter logo on it or something. I don't know. We'll figure. If you decide to run with it, we can figure something out. If it's not available, like I'll keep swinging.
Like I said, if you come up with a domain name, DM it to me, and it'll go on a list. Right now, there is a list of one, which is Bullies Be Gone.
All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. So if you've got any other ideas for the domain name for the project that he's trying to get started, you can DM him. He's already given out his Twitter information. Now, at this point, we did decide to go commercial free for the first part of the show because I didn't want to take the break halfway through the first part of the show like that we normally do. So I do want to give a shout out to our newest sponsor, and then we will just kind of roll on for the next few minutes till we have to take our official break. Now, our newest sponsor is actually Concealed and Carry Network. If you are someone who is in any of the 50 states and you are interested in finding firearms or firearm equipment or firearm training, I would strongly recommend that you visit their website. They actually have... It's one of the first directories like this that I have ever seen. They have locations in all 50 states where basically you can click on the state where you live and get information about places that are near you that may offer stuff that you want or may even offer the classes that you're looking for. And you can find them at concealedcarry.net. So I do strongly recommend you check them out. Okay, so kind of about 5 minutes till we have to take the hard break. Anything else you want to tell anybody about this before we move on to the next topic? Because I figured we'd probably wait till the break to do that anyway.
I'm just writing down concealedcarry.net because a buddy of mine just got his license to his instructor license for concealed carrier, and he'll need to register with those folks.
Yeah, I mean, it actually is it's a really big project, and they're pretty awesome. They'll even if you are somebody that's like doing the classes, or you offer firearms instruction or anything else, they'll even let you have a free listing. So I would definitely recommend that anybody that is trying to do that actually reach out to them. And just to make sure that I do that right, I did pull it up because I realized I may have given the domain name wrong. It's conceal, the letter N, and then carry.net. So concealandcarry.net, but it's not an N signed and it's not A-N-D. It's just the letter N. And that should take you straight to them because I just clicked on it and it works.
Conceal carry.
Mm-hmm.
.net. Got it.
Yep, so basically it works if you are someone looking for classes, if you're someone that offers classes, you can get a listing there for free. They also do have paid services, where if you want to give them a little bit of money per month, you can actually do an improved listing there, and it's pretty awesome, actually. So that's actually what they were actually not too long ago on Red Nation Rising, and that's actually how I found them. And then I reached out to them, and they were like, "Yeah, sure." So they are our newest official sponsor. So I do recommend that you check them out. Let them know that you found them through us, so that they know that they're getting their money's worth. I'm just saying.
Awesome. I'll do that. And honestly, concealed carry is kind of like the real life bully deterrent that I'm trying to buid for Twitter. It's kind of because you have the same problems.
Yeah.
People just absolutely don't know where the legal line is, and when it stops being calling somebody a big dumbhead and starts being an actual attack. I guess some people just don't understand where that line is.
Well, it's about time that we start educating them about where that line is, so I am glad that you came up with the idea for the project. And again, anything that we can do to help, I am, of course, willing and able to do that in any way that we can. Okay, so at this point, I guess we're going to go ahead and take the break just a couple minutes early so we can actually change gears. Give me just a sec here. All right, folks, as we go to break, I have a question. Are you in the market for a dependable used vehicle? Because if so, I know somewhere you need to check out today. They're located in Pryor, Oklahoma. It is Roberts Auto Chevy, Roberts Auto Dodge, and Roberts Ford Lincoln. They're, again, located in Pryor. They have over 2,000 vehicles available between the three lots. And if they don't have what you're looking for, they can and will find it for you if possible and still give you the best deal available. Call Ryan today at 918-693-2866. Again, that's Ryan, 918-693-2866. And tell him Rick from K98 Talk sent you, and they'll even give you a better deal. Can't beat that, folks. We'll be right back.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes and...
Listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works.
President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before.
Did someone say green?
Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind?
Now, do you say good things about me on the show?
No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much.
The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation.
Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo?
I got a pen. I can veto that, you know.
I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it.
Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either.
That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and I am joined today by Mr. Bill Morgan. And for the first half of the show, we were talking about the Twitter anti-bullying project that he has going. For the last half of the show, we are going to change gears and actually start talking about the Convention of States for one very important reason. There's one very particular reason that I actually wanted to discuss this today. I've played this before, but I'm going to go ahead and play it again. We now have the newest TPA update, because in case you weren't paying attention, the Senate basically just sold us down the river today. So here again is your most recent TPA update.
Really did it. You maniacs! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell! It's the end of the world as we know it.
That's right, folks. Not only has it happened in the Congress because they found, or the House because they found a way to send it back to the Senate on a technicality, we have now got TPA passed by the Senate, which means, guess what? It's headed to the president's desk. No stopping it now, folks. Yay, it's party time. Not really. We've basically been sold down the river by the party that claims to be conservative, the party that tells you they're for freedom, and yet they just stood on a street corner and sold themselves like a cheap hooker. Yay for Republicans. So, all I have to say with that is I'm starting to really lean with the idea that our last best hope to salvage anything in this country is probably going to be a convention of states. I do readily admit that I don't know very much about it, which is one reason why I wanted to have Mr. Bill Morgan on for this topic as well, because he's actually talked about this with Grouchy before, and I am interested in trying to figure out as much as I can, because I'm really starting to think this may be our last hope. I hate to be a downer, but that's kind of where I am right now. All right, so without further ado, Mr. Bill Morgan back with us, and we're going to talk Convention of States. So take her away.
Well, like I mentioned on Grouchy's show, the Convention of States is basically under Article 5, and there's two ways. Article 5 is all about how the Constitution can be amended, and there's two ways. There's a way for Congress to do it, and there's a way for the state legislatures to do it outside of Congress. What a lot of people don't understand is that 34 state legislatures call for a convention of states. That's all the government ever has to have involved in it. We, the people, could do the rest all on our own. And the problem that I have with the Convention of States project as it is everybody I talk to says, well, we're just going to get the state government to call it, the state legislature to call it, and then we're going to leave it in their hands. Well, state government's just as corrupt as everybody else. So why would you hand them all that power and leave them to go with it? Once 34, the correct way to do this, honestly, is once 34, as we get our representatives to introduce this to the state legislatures, to get the state legislatures to call for a convention of states. It doesn't have to be state legislatures that are the delegates. They can be publicly elected. We can send more of we the people. And honestly, that's what we need to do. We need to find a truck driver, a teacher, some rich folks, some not so rich folks. We need to send Republicans. We need to send Democrats. We need to send some lawyers and some constitutional experts. We need to send some farmers. We need to send we the people. And then once they go and they figure out what's the best way that they can amend the Constitution to fix what's wrong with government, and it comes back, the states need to, it can either come back to the state legislatures for ratification, and 38 of them can do that, or, again, publicly elected representatives can be called to a ratification convention in each state, and if 38 of those ratify, it goes. So all we need the government for is for 34 states to call for it. But a lot more groundwork, I think, needs to be laid for this to be done right.
So what type of groundwork are we talking about? Any ideas?
I think well, yes, sir, I do. Actually, I think that it needs to be in when it's called, it needs to be specified in there that we will be sending our own delegates. We will be electing them ourselves. It will not be the state legislature. Once they get their job done and it comes back, we will be electing our own ratification conventions. We don't need the government again. We can fix it ourselves. And that's actually, if a government gets to be doing stuff it's not supposed to do, it's the right and responsibility of people to fix it. They're not talking about an armed revolution. They're talking about a convention of states. And it's dangerous. There's a lot of power involved. There is no clear judicial oversight for a convention of states. So there are some potential problems. Do you really want our elected officials with that kind of power?
Well, I mean, yeah, I see the problem. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't know what we should do, because at this point, our election system has become Einstein's definition of insanity. We continue to do the same things repeatedly, expecting different results, and the only thing that changes is which way the money flows. And, I mean, at this point, for the Republicans to basically just sell TPA like it's the best thing ever, just because most of the Democrats were opposed to it, when all they really realize at this point is if they can get this passed, they're going to have access to cheaper free labor for a very, very long time. They basically sold us down the river, and I don't know what we do to fix that at this point, because the people that we are sending to D.C. to represent us are no longer representing us. They're representing how to line their own pockets, and they're representing how to make sure they get lobbyist jobs when they're done, and they're representing, if they choose to stay in, how to make sure that they get lifetime access to the government teat. And I do not know how to fix this at this point. So I was really hoping that the Convention of States might be a good idea, but I kind of, at this point, I really don't know if I could trust my state government with that type of power either. I don't know what to do.
You don't have to. That's the reason I keep trying to get this information out. You don't have to trust your state government with the power. The people behind, some of the top people, Mark Levin comes to mind, some of the good minds behind this. They have a good idea, okay? But we need to keep our government out of it as much as possible, and that needs to be written in. There is no modern-day equivalent of the Annapolis Convention Resolution, which is the document basically that suggested to Congress what the mandate should be of the last and only other convention of states to ever happen. We don't have that mandate, and we need to write one, and we need to write it so that we, the people, you state government who represent us, if you're close, we don't have to drive to D.C. to knock on your door. You're close. You send this up there. You call for it. And we will elect our own delegates to go forth and do. And then when they get done doing, they will send it back, and we will elect our own ratification convention to ratify it. You need not ever involve state or federal government beyond getting the state government to call it. But in order for that to work and not go horribly awry, we need to write some guidelines. We need to set this down as what we're attempting to do. I ask all the volunteers all the time. We get this thing called. What happens? How is it going to be ratified? Who are we going to send? And nobody knows. Well, what are the amendments that we're going to propose? And very few know that either. There are some that have been thrown about, term limits, some severe limits on taxation, and there's different things like that. But it's all very vague, and I haven't seen anything written. So we have some homework to do. This still is a good idea. It's a great idea, I think. It could work, but we have a lot of homework to do in order to make it work correctly.
Okay, so this is just me brainstorming again, and I don't know how much of it I would be able to do. But in my day job, I actually write training scripts and produce training videos. So I am pretty good at taking documentation and resources and finding ways to make them intelligible to people that don't even know how to do the job that I do yet. So I can't promise it would be very consistent or very quick, but I could, if you can give me some some websites and other places I could go to start doing the research, I could probably at least start putting a framework together on the documentation that you're looking for, and then I could just send you what I have and we can continue to build on it.
If you like, conventionofstates.com is the site you can go to volunteer, and they have a couple of frequently asked questions, and generally the thing is, there's a group of people that say conventions of states is an excellent idea, and Article 5 will keep them in line. Then there's a group of people that says, no, it's going to be a runaway convention. They'll have way too much power. I kind of actually lean towards that because the last one was indeed a runaway convention. However, when they ran away and instead of adding articles to the Articles of Confederation like they were supposed to and wrote the Constitution, they still brought it back to Congress, and Congress still ratified it in the means given in the Articles of the Confederation. So yes, runaway convention, but still no government takeover. But nobody, to my knowledge, is saying, well, we know how to change it, and we know that having the very least possible politician involvement is important. Let's write a plan. And that hasn't happened.
Well, like I said, I can't say it's going to be a quick process, but I am willing to put my 2 cents in there and maybe see if maybe I can at least start getting a framework put together that we could maybe start building upon. And I don't know if it will go anywhere, but the reason I do the things that I do is because at this point, if I don't do something, I'm going to go crazy. I'm not one of these guys that can just sit around and watch this country go to hell and not try to do something about it. Even if I have to look at my children and say, I don't know if any of this is going to work, but by God, I'm not going down without a fight. That's what I'm going to do, because I would much rather be the guy sitting here chasing windmills than sitting around going, let's keep up with the Kardashians and get a bigger TV, because screw it, we're all going to hell anyway. I can't do that anymore. I've done the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. I used to make more money in a day than I usually see in a month now, until the economy crashed. And one of the biggest reasons the economy crashed is because we let the government get completely out of control and start doing all kinds of crazy crap. And we haven't reined them back in yet. They keep doing the same things over and over and over again. We've got to do something.
Now, Rick, I can send you links to all of the historical documents. You can see how it was done before. The last time they did it, the Congress said okay and sent it back to the states to ratify it, and it was actually not the state legislatures that did it. It was a ratification convention in each state. But when that happened, that's where the Federalist Papers came from, and the Anti-Federalist Papers. This is the people that were for and against writing papers trying to get the people that were elected to go to the ratification convention in each state to vote for or against. It was the argument. And my father at Yabbut, Yabbut, mentioned to me in a tweet the other day, when are we going to start the Federalist tweets? Which, honestly, could be how it happened modern day. If the Convention of States is called, Twitter and Facebook are going to be huge, I would think, in If it gets back to the states for ratification, I think Twitter and Facebook and social media will be huge in influencing how these representatives vote. And that's the way it should be, honestly. It doesn't matter if your representative thinks it's a good idea or not. What matters is, do the majority of the people in his district or her district think it's a good idea? They're not there to lead so much as they are to bring your vote to Washington. And that's been lost too.
Yeah, that's not necessarily been lost. That was thrown away. I mean, at some point, we allowed what was never supposed to happen. This was never supposed to be, there was never supposed to be a common class and a political class in America. And that is exactly what we have going on right now. We have basically three different classes fighting for attention. We have the political class, the corporate class, and then there's regular old us. And the political class and the corporate class, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, are holding each other's hands while they pretend to hate each other. Because that's exactly what TPA just proved. Everybody was out looking out for big business and everything else, and we had all of these places that were doing this pro-TPA tweeting, and it was all, it's going to be good for America, it's going to be good for the economy, it's going to help small business. This is going to kill small business, and nobody wants to talk about that. And one of the things that pissed me off the most today is I listen to Sean Hannity every day on the way home. I like Sean Hannity. I can only usually take him in small doses on the radio. For some reason, I do like his TV show a little more. And lately, I had been completely turning him off because every time I turned him on, he's been talking about Father's Day presents and this, that, and the other. Now that the TPA vote doesn't matter anymore, he was all up in everybody's business about the TPA vote and calling out a Boner and everybody else about how they shouldn't have done what they did. And I'm like, where were you 2 months ago? Where were you 3 months ago? Where were you 2 years ago? When a lot of us started just now realizing how bad all of this is, and we've been railing about it for months, you've been talking about what a great present this grill would be on your radio show. Thanks for selling out, buddy. And now you want to come along and start grilling everybody about the fact that Boner finally grew a spine, but now he's attacking his own people instead of dealing with Obama like he should be. And I'm just thinking, look, where were you when it mattered? Because it's over. The president won for now. I don't know how we're going to change it, how we're going to fix it, but we're going to find a way to do it, or we're going to go down swinging. But for the moment, the president won the battle. As far as I'm concerned, the war's nowhere near over, but the president won the battle. And that's and it's pissing me off because all these people that ain't said a word about it for weeks are now, oh my God, TPA passed, we got to change it. Too late. At least for now.
Too little, too late.
I mean, I don't get it because the people that have media share, that have millions of listeners. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have for an internet-based thing, we're not doing too shabby. You know, you guys have millions of choices, and we're still to the point where we're hitting thousands of listeners a month. So while it's not big in the grand scheme of things as far as a lot of people are concerned, with as many people as there are out there to listen to now, I don't think we're doing too shabby. But they have millions of listeners every day, and they're not. They didn't say a word till now. Where were they?
Well, I got to tell you. You mentioned that the politicians and the corporations were hand in hand, and the media that has the largest share are corporations. And, you know, that has to be kept in mind. Also, it's no longer about news. It's no longer about what's going on. It's about ratings. And that's how come we can yell, Bruce Jenner is now a girl, and this white chick is now, or this black chick is now a white chick, or however which way that went. And, you know, it's all about the Confederate flags. And we forget, you know, and the American people forget that there was a 3 a.m. phone call for help that got ignored. And that's not in the press anymore, and that hasn't been answered. There are a lot of things like this that need to be answered. All of the Clinton Foundation money things. And, you know, I would be saying the same thing even with the Republicans. All of this corruption on both sides, it gets lost. And it turns out, because I've been talking to both sides, it turns out that the Democrats or the left, not the politicians, but the regular people, are just as upset with how the government is going as, you know, us on the right. They blame us. We blame them. And what it is an elite, a power elite that's causing all of this, and they laugh at us because we fight with each other.
But that's the thing that I don't understand how people have not figured this out yet. They want us fighting with each other, because if we're fighting with each other, we don't pay attention to what they're doing, which is exactly why what has happened in the House and the Senate over the past several weeks has managed to happen. Because we all started waking up, we all started trying to make noise about it, but those of us that did wake up, I have to admit, I am pretty well plugged in. I eat, sleep, drink around news cycles and news stories and what's happening here and what the government's doing over there and why they're doing this. And even I didn't have nearly the idea of what I should have had about how bad TPA, TPP, TPIP, OPP, whatever the hell else you want to call this thing, or as Stacy likes to say, TPWTF. The thing about it is, even I didn't know how bad this was until a few weeks ago when I actually I got a chance to sit in because JD was ill and Stacy was doing an interview with one of the co-founders of Coalition for a Strong America. And I got to tell you, by the end of the interview, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck because even I had no idea how bad this was. And that's how I knew we were screwed. I knew from that moment forward we were pretty much screwed and we were going to have to fight this thing in reverse. Because I knew that there was no way the average American had any idea how bad this is going to be. Because what they're going to do is they're going to look at it and say, well, all the Democrats hate it, so it must be a good thing because I'm a conservative, and if the Democrats don't want it, then I must want it. And that's exactly what happened. Even I at first was looking at it going, well, how can? And then I realized, with this really terrible taste in my mouth, that for the first time ever, I was agreeing with Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that for this one time, it was the whole broken clock scenario, because it's even right twice a day. And for once, these two were right. And it really still makes me ill to have to say that. But it doesn't change.
Nancy Pelosi's been there for 100 years. She's bound to get something right sometime.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
And, with the TPA and everything, you had me at secret.
I know, right? When I found...
Okay, you had me at secret because, again, the Senate is made up of people that are supposed to be representing their state. The House of Representatives are made up of people that are supposed to be representing their district. How can they represent their district or their state in a matter that is secret? If we can't read it, if we can't find out what's in it, you're always going to have those people that don't care. But you're always going to have those people that do care too. And you know what? Secret means I'm against it. Okay? Because it's not a military plan or anything like that needs to be secret. This is a trade plan. If it's secret, we can't, those of us that do care and do like to educate on both sides, they can't read it. So we can't form an opinion, which means we can't send our representatives to Washington with an opinion. Could be the greatest thing in the world. Secret? Vote no.
Yeah, and this was the mind-blowing thing for me. The 2012 election cycle, when Paul Ryan was slamming Nancy Pelosi for we have to pass it to find out what's in it, stood up and said the exact same thing. What the hell? How was it bad then, but it's okay because you're the one that's saying it now?
That's an excellent question. Not one I have an answer for, though.
I don't either. That's why I get so cranky when I talk about it, because it makes absolutely no sense to me how 3 flipping years ago, that's not that long ago, people, he's standing up going, I can't believe this idiot Nancy Pelosi said we have to pass it to find out what's in it. 3 short years later, hey, you want to know what's in TPA, TPP? Pass it, and then we'll tell you what's in it. Really? So it's okay for you now?
If regular people like you and I do that, there are white coats that zip up in the back waiting for us.
I don't know, brother. At this point, I'm kind of thinking the padded cell might be a nice little vacation, because I'm honestly getting, I don't know. I don't, and it didn't hit me last night. And I actually listen to a lot of the shows as they're airing, and I try to hang out in the chats as much as I can, because I don't usually get a chance to do that when I'm doing my own show. I'm actually in there for the last half today. But usually when I don't have somebody else to talk to, it's really hard to keep up with the chat and everything else. So I'm not usually in there. But I was listening to JD and Stacy's show last night, and JD went off. And At one point, I was like, oh my God, finally, I'm not the only one that is ready to just rip somebody's throat out over this stupid crap that we're going through. But then I realized, with as calm and cool and collected as he always is, if this has gotten to him this badly, we are in a world of hurt. Because he was going off. And I even tried to talk to him about it today, and he even apologized to me. And I'm like, what are you apologizing for? He's like, that was completely unprofessional. I was like, unprofessional? Hell, the chat went crazy. I said, I actually was rooting for you, because for once I didn't feel like I was alone screaming from a rooftop going, why are we doing this to ourselves? And yeah,
there's a lot of us that love it when JD gets worked up into a tizzy. He's awesome.
No, he is really a great guy. I've actually known him for a few months now. We're actually working on a deal to actually just bring them over for one show a week, and then, as fate would have it, we wound up getting them for 3 shows a week. So I am really glad that they're here, and they really have brought a lot to the network. And since they have come over, we have continued to grow by leaps and bounds. So a lot of that I actually attribute to them, because they are really good at what they do. And honestly,
you got a lot of good crews.
Yeah, lucky. I'm just going to be completely honest. Right place, right time, had the open space. And I typically am the type of boss where basically, one, I'm not really paying any of these folks yet, so it's not like I can tell them what to do. 2, it's their show. They built it without me, so now that it's here, I'm not going to hold them under my thumb and say, you got to do things my way. And that's one of the things I've told them all up front. It's your show, it's your hour, or your 2 hours, or whatever the case may be, and it is yours to do with as you wish. And if the numbers are great, cool. If they're not, then when we start trying to monetize, then we'll revisit. And if you don't want to monetize, then that's fine. If you do, then I'll make some suggestions if I have any ideas for you. But other than that, I'm pretty much a hands-off kind of guy. So, and that I mainly bring that up because I'm gonna out you just in case nobody knows. But we have been talking, and you are leaning towards possibly doing a show at some point. So, folks, tell him on Twitter that it's a good idea. Just do that now. But yeah, so just so you know, if you do decide to do a show and you do want to do it here, you have my full support. I will back you, and it is your hour. So as long as you're comfortable with it, and as long as the quality is good, I don't have any other complaints or objections.
As long as if I find out that there's enough people that want to listen to me ramble for an hour, I guess I'll do it.
Now, come on, they listen to me. Why would they not listen to you? You make more sense than I do.
Oh, there's no telling. There's no telling. It has been a good hour, though, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about both the anti-Twitter or anti-bully on Twitter project and the cause project, because a lot of this actually we the people, which is everybody listening and everybody to educate yourself on what's out there on this stuff. And there's a bunch of us out here that are trying to make the information available, but you have to read it and you have to know. And if you're into this kind of thing, again, conventionestates.com is an excellent place to start. Ask questions. If you don't know, if you wonder, ask questions. If you don't think it's a good idea or you don't agree, say so. That's fine. Now, there's going to be people out there that call you a big dumbhead, but you're just as entitled to your opinion as anybody else on the planet.
And, well, that is true, and that's the thing that I don't think anybody understands, is, you're entitled to have an opinion. The First Amendment gives you the right to give your opinion, and it doesn't give you the right to not be offended. By the way, I don't see you in the chat, so just in case you're wondering, as soon as I mentioned that you should do a show, the people that were in the chat started going crazy and said, yes, Bill, have a show, do it, Bill, do it now.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so
it timed out because I'm walking around talking.
Yeah, well, I've noticed, I think it's something with my computer, so at some point I'll probably wind up investing in a bigger system since I have to have so many things open, because I keep having to hit refresh to see what everybody's typing, but as soon as I refreshed it, there were like a bunch of them that were like, go, Bill, do it now, and then there's other
folks.
I
can see it now. I refreshed, I can see it. Oh, good Lord.
All right, so at this point, we are going to have to start winding things down because here in just a couple minutes, we're going to be on live with the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show, so I will be taking a back seat and running the board. You'll be hearing a commercial for a couple of minutes while we get things squared away, but we should have that running pretty close to the top of the hour, so give me just a second here. Again, I want to take just a second to say thanks to Mr. Bill Morgan for hanging out with me for the whole hour. It was a really great show, really good conversations, and I wasn't kidding. I can't say it would be quick work, but if you do want some help getting some framework started that maybe we could pass along and get built on, I am down with at least trying, because at least then I'll feel like I'm doing something.
We can talk. I got a meeting with a state rep tomorrow, or Friday rather, and let me get that out of the way, and then we can message back and forth and figure out what we need to do.
Definitely down for that, sir. So like I said, if there's something that I can do to help or we can figure out a way to make this happen, I will definitely be willing to do that, because at this point, I feel like it's the only option we really have left, because we've done pretty much everything else. And I see all these people all the time talking about third party. Unfortunately, until the third party becomes the second party, I really don't see any way to make that work either, because all it does is keep splitting the votes, and I don't know of any other way to get it done. So, but at this
point,
when
you're doing carpentry, though, they say measure twice, cut once. So let's get it right the first time. I agree, though, that it may be our best bet.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this particular episode of America Off the Rails. Again, thanks, Mr. Bill Morgan, for hanging out with me. We'll be right back here in a couple minutes with the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show with Grouchy live. They'll be talking Confederate flag banning and more. And for those of you looking for the podcast links, soon as the shows are not live, I will get those published out to the normal places. But don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back.
Everything you earn by breaking your backs, we're gonna redistribute when we make our pay tax. Hey, sit back down.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.